The Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association of the Netherlands presents to you Pilots and Plane.
Mr. Yak, Gennady Elfimov, was onlangs 4 dagen lang te gast bij Wings over Holland om de Yak-52 jockeys daar de fijne kneepjes van het formatievliegen bij te brengen. Gennady, zelf nog in de communistische tijd opgeleid bij de Dosaaf, een soort Sovjet-luchtpadvinderij, heeft meer dan 4000 uur op het type, is afgestudeerd aan het prestigieuze Moskou Aviation Institute en eindigde ooit als 5e bij de Russische nationale aerobatic kampioenschappen. What's the program for this afternoon?
Continuing training with flat spins, aggravated spins, inverted spins, standard procedures.
Standard procedures? Inverted flat spins? Standard procedures?
Well, it's like there are standard elements of the safety program.
Okay, good. And how many hours does a more or less experienced pilot need to master all these skills?
I would estimate about between 7 and 10 hours.
Okay, that's all. That's because the Yak is a very docile airplane, or is it?
No, not at all. Quite opposite. The training is quite intense, and the ground school is very intense as well. And when they know what to expect and they know the recovery procedures before we even start, they're already prepared, and we're just practicing the techniques, the correct actions, and analyze mistakes.
Right. Why do you think the Yak was such a successful training plane back in the Warsaw Pact time?
Probably because it was built for a specific purpose. It was built as a very strong machine for aerobatics and for ab initio training, believe it or not, and very many young people went solo for the first time in the Yak-52, and this is probably why. We also had a great deal of support, ground support, army of engineers and spare parts and very highly skilled instructors, and altogether it made a great success with this aeroplane.
You just said ab initio trainer, hard to believe. It couldn't be used that way?
It was used that way, and people with no experience in flying whatsoever started flying in Yak-52s and had their first solo flights in the Yak-52 as well.
Okay. You think that's the way it could be used over here as well?
No, I don't, because in that environment we had all other supporting facilities and supporting training personnel. We had about 6 months ground school, we had about 1 week training at the airfield without even flying and practicing startup procedures, taxiing, all the emergency procedures, and it was all very thorough with great deal of discipline, and because of that it was possible and it was successful. And here there is no infrastructure like that, and people very often cannot separate so much time for training in this aircraft, and it was built for specific organization, really, taking into account all this support.
And after how many hours was a student back then transferred to another plane, and what kind of plane was it?
We had limited number of other planes, Yak-50s, Yak-55s, and normally that would happen starting from about 60 hours perhaps, 80 hours, and the programs were like by 40 hours people were doing all standard aerobatics and stall turns, and then later flick rolls, and they were going further. And then when they were competing and becoming aerobatic team members, they were transferred normally onto single-seaters.
You once told me that you never encountered one engine problem with the Yak-52. Are there any other things that you can mention about the technical quality of the plane?
It's very strong. That is the main thing. I think we were spoiled by this fact, because you can do all aerobatic maneuvers without really having any doubts about the strength of the aircraft. It's officially allowed to do +7, -5, which is a lot, and you don't really need more than that. And even if you have a problem such as engine failure and you land somewhere, wheels up, because of the design and the undercarriage being underneath of the fuselage, the damage is absolutely minimal. Obviously the propeller, but apart from that, very often nothing else.
Okay, you don't even have a shock loading of the crankshaft or anything?
Yes, sure. That's what I meant, actually, saying propeller and the engine. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.